Your brain is not actually seeking achievement when you work 70 hours a week. It is actively manufacturing a chemical noise to drown out a silent emotional void. This relentless drive to produce is actually a sophisticated neurological evasion tactic, a state of functional freeze masquerading as peak performance. By flooding your neural pathways with dopamine-driven tasks, your nervous system successfully prevents you from feeling the weight of your own existence. You are not highly motivated. You are running for your life from a quietness you cannot tolerate. To understand why this happens, we must unpack the avoidance engine, the specific neurobiological loop where the brain uses task completion to suppress the raw pain of unresolved psychological wounds. Deep within the basal ganglia lies a complex network of structures called the striatum. This area is the engine of action selection, highly responsive to the neurotransmitter dopamine. When you complete a task, whether it is responding to an urgent email, writing a report, or organizing your workspace, your brain releases a burst of dopamine. It feels like satisfaction, but biologically, it is a signal of survival success. In a healthy nervous system, this chemical reward system works in harmony with the parasympathetic nervous system, allowing you to transition effortlessly from action to deep, restorative rest. However, when there is a subterranean pool of unresolved distress, early life trauma, or a deep-seated sense of inadequacy, stillness becomes an immediate threat. Stop running. When you stop moving, the cognitive noise fades, and the brain's default mode network activates. This is the network responsible for self-referential thought, autobiographical memory, and internal reflection. If those internal reflections are populated by unhealed pain, the default mode network feels like a dark room filled with monsters. To prevent you from entering that room, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, triggers a subtle, chronic state of survival panic. It tells the striatum that safety lies only in forward motion. In a landmark study published by Dr. Cecily Shu Andreasen and her colleagues in the year 2012, researchers developed a standardized framework to measure this behavior, identifying that work addiction is directly correlated with high levels of anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. The study proved that workaholism is not a career choice, but a clinical coping mechanism. Dr. Andreasen and her team established 7 distinct criteria to identify this pathology, including salience, mood modification, and tolerance. What they found was a stark truth. The highly productive individual is often using the workplace as a personal rehabilitation clinic, albeit a highly dysfunctional one. Imagine a massive ocean liner with a critical breach in its lower hull. Instead of stopping in the harbor to repair the structural tear, the captain orders the engines to run at maximum speed, using the sheer velocity of the ship to force the water out of the breach. The speed keeps the vessel afloat, but the engines are burning out, and the structural integrity is degrading every single second. That is exactly what your brain does when you fill every hour of your calendar. You are using the kinetic velocity of your career to outrun the rising water in your hold. The tragedy is that the faster you run, the more fuel you require. Your brain becomes habituated to the high levels of dopamine generated by constant crises and immediate deadlines. Over time, normal life feels utterly intolerable. A quiet evening on the couch is no longer peaceful. It is a terrifying confrontation with a silent predator. This is where the illusion of the modern high achiever completely unravels. We live in a culture that worships the grind, celebrating 70-hour work weeks as badges of honor and elevating executive burnout to a form of secular sainthood. But if we pull back the curtain of corporate praise, we find a neurochemical hostage situation. Consider how this manifests in everyday life. Before this realization, you might see a colleague who stays at their desk until 9 o'clock every night, constantly refreshing their inbox, volunteering for every project, and speaking with a fast, urgent cadence. You might admire their dedication, but look closer. Notice how they react when a meeting is canceled or when a project is delayed. The reaction is not relief, it is irritation, a sudden wave of jittery anxiety. Why? Because the cancellation has stripped away their chemical armor. Without the immediate demand of a task, the quietness begins to seep back in, and the brain's alarm system starts to wail. In the year 2007, neuroscientist Dr. Matthew Lieberman conducted a series of groundbreaking studies on how cognitive engagement suppresses emotional processing. Using functional magnetic resonance imaging, his team discovered that when individuals actively engage the prefrontal cortex in complex, goal-oriented tasks, the activity in the bilateral amygdala, the emotional processing center, is significantly dampened. This is the ultimate scientific revelation of the avoidance engine. Your brain has learned that if it keeps your prefrontal cortex entirely consumed by spreadsheets, planning, and organizing, it can literally mute your emotional landscape. It is a form of self-administered anesthesia. You are using executive function to lobotomize your own vulnerability. But this anesthesia comes with a devastating cost. Because the brain cannot selectively numb emotions, when you mute your sadness, your fear, and your loneliness through constant busyness, you also mute your joy, your capacity for deep connection, and your sense of awe. You become a high-functioning ghost, moving through a gray world where the only color is the fleeting spark of a completed task. Let us ask a critical question. What happens to your heart rate when your phone goes silent for 1 hour? If that silence feels like a physical constriction in your chest, you are not experiencing a desire to be productive. You are experiencing withdrawal from the drug of distraction. This explains the phenomenon that the pioneering psychoanalyst Viktor Frankl termed the Sunday neurosis. Frankl observed that when the busy work week ends, a profound sense of emptiness and existential dread often floods the conscious mind. Without the external framework of tasks, deadlines, and social expectations, the individual is forced to confront the lack of meaning or unresolved pain inside themselves. The Monday morning rush is not a return to responsibility. It is an escape back to the safety of structured distraction. The sudden drop in stress hormones and the cessation of the dopamine engine allows the accumulated trauma of the nervous system to finally break through the surface. The body, no longer running on adrenaline, finally demands the debt be paid. Breaking free from this cycle does not mean you must abandon your career or stop achieving. It means you must transition from a state of compulsive avoidance to a state of conscious action. This requires systematic, daily retraining of your autonomic nervous system. Here are 3 highly specific, scientifically validated methods to dismantle the avoidance engine and restore balance to your brain. First, you must implement the micro-pause somatic inventory. This is a deliberate intervention designed to disrupt the sympathetic nervous system's dominance before it escalates into chronic workaholism. 3 times a day, specifically at the transitions between major tasks, you must stop completely for exactly 90 seconds. Close your eyes, place your attention on the physical sensation of your breath, and perform 2 deep inhales followed by 1 long, slow exhale. This specific breathing pattern, known in neuroscience as the physiological sigh, instantly triggers the vagus nerve to slow down your heart rate. During these 90 seconds, ask yourself one question: what am I trying not to feel right now? Do not search for an intellectual answer. Simply observe the physical sensations in your torso, the tightness in your throat, the weight in your chest, or the clenching in your stomach. By giving these physical sensations 90 seconds of pure, non-judgmental attention, you show your amygdala that these internal states are not life-threatening. You are teaching your brain that it is safe to stop moving. Second, you must practice the dopamine decoupling protocol. This method is designed to separate your self-worth from your productivity output. Choose one evening a week where you establish a hard boundary: no work, no professional communications, and absolutely no goal-oriented hobbies after 6 o'clock in the evening. During this window, you must engage in what psychologists call low-yield, autotelic activities, actions that have no purpose, no metric, and no end product. This could mean listening to music without doing anything else, walking through a park with no set destination, or simply sitting in a chair and watching the rain. The goal is to intentionally expose your brain to unstructured time. At first, your mind will scream with boredom and anxiety. You will feel an intense urge to pick up your phone or check your tasks. This is the critical moment. Do not yield to the impulse. This sudden surge of discomfort is what behavioral psychologists call an extinction burst, the temporary increase in the frequency and intensity of an unwanted behavior when that behavior is no longer being reinforced. Sit with the discomfort. By remaining still amidst the internal static, you rewrite the neural pathways that associate unstructured time with danger. You are retraining your reward center to appreciate the subtle, steady glow of low dopamine states rather than relying on the high-intensity spikes of constant crisis. Third, you must utilize the structured default mode integration. To prevent your brain's default mode network from overwhelming you when you stop working, you must give it a safe, expressive outlet. Every morning, before you open your computer or check your messages, spend 10 minutes writing continuously on a blank sheet of paper. Do not edit, do not structure, and do not worry about coherence. Simply dump the raw, unfiltered contents of your mind onto the page. This process, often called expressive writing, was pioneered by researcher Dr. James Pennebaker in the late 1980s. His research demonstrated that translating emotional distress into written words significantly reduces activity in the amygdala and strengthens the prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate emotion. He proved that when we organize our internal chaos into linguistic structures, we release the nervous system from the burden of keeping those secrets. By doing this before you begin your workday, you give your subconscious mind a designated space to process its background static. You are draining the emotional reservoir so that your brain does not have to spend the rest of the day using frantic busyness to keep the floodgates closed. Once you understand this neurobiological reality, the way you view human behavior changes forever. You will no longer look at the highly successful, perpetually busy workaholic with a sense of envy or admiration. Instead, you will see them with a profound, quiet empathy. You will look past the elegant titles, the impressive metrics, and the relentless drive, and you will see a nervous system in a state of high alert survival. You will recognize that the towering monument of their achievements is often built over a deep, hidden grave of unmet emotional needs. And more importantly, you will look at yourself differently. You will realize that your own exhaustion is not a sign of weakness, nor is your inability to rest a character flaw. It is a biological defense mechanism that has been working tirelessly to protect you from things you felt too fragile to face. You will see that the urge to pick up your phone, to schedule another meeting, or to start another project is actually a quiet cry for help from a nervous system that has forgotten how to feel safe in the present moment. You will understand that the ultimate form of courage is not working until you collapse, but having the bravery to sit quietly in an empty room and welcome whatever arises. Decrease intensity. The hustle is not your power, it is your prison. True freedom is the ability to choose action out of inspiration rather than using action as a drug to numb the silence. The mechanics of human behavior are rarely what they appear to be on the surface. By understanding the neural engines that drive your daily choices, you gain the power to reclaim your attention, your peace, and your life. Continue this journey of unraveling the hidden systems of the mind, because there is an even deeper, more profound mystery hidden within the architecture of your subconscious, a mechanism that governs your choices without your consent, waiting to be brought into the light. Keep decoding the science of who you are.